Hello, everyone. Welcome to our interview with Sophie. She is a herbalist, a mother, a teacher, and a beautiful woman that I met in Spain when I was studying in La Luz. She was my teacher, and also she helped me when I was giving birth with her magic herbs. And today, Claire is here. She's my mother-in-law, and she's going to be part of the interview. She's also interested in herbs, as far as I know. We made some salves when I was in her house in the States. So welcome, Sophie. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for participating. How are you today?
I'm good. Yeah, very good. Yeah, it's the middle of the day here in Spain. So I've been out working this morning, and yeah, it's nice to come home and be with you. That's exciting. I haven't seen you for quite some months.
Yes. Yeah. It's good to know, or I will mention that you have a baby inside, and that's
I do. Nice. Yeah. I'm 25 weeks pregnant, and it's my third baby. And my first baby turned 14 a few weeks ago. I have big gaps. Yeah, and I'm very excited to be doing it all again. Yeah.
How does it feel? Does it feel similar? Do you remember the other ones, or is it new, totally new?
Yeah, I mean, I've paid a lot of attention in my pregnancies because of my interest in this subject. Yeah, I mean, I think this is probably the healthiest I've been in a pregnancy. The first one, I was finishing my studies, and I was living in the UK with everything that entails, including having a lot of access to dairy products, and just the supermarket thing in England is, you know, you go to the supermarket and it takes you an hour to get around it because it's so big. And yeah, just not knowing so much as what I do now, health wise and nutrition wise and all of that, and also emotionally much better than I was back then. Yeah, and physically just noticing, yeah, it's a bit different. I was just much more overweight then, so but it was a different moment, you know. I didn't have any children to look after. I didn't have a business to run. I was just finishing my degree in herbal medicine. So
yeah.
I remember with Oshra, who was born nearly 9 years ago. I was quite sort of active, stressed out, on the other end of the scale of nutritionally, like not eating enough because I was busy, and relationship also difficult. And in the middle of having in my pregnancy with Oshra, at 5 months, I got salmonella food poisoning, and I was in hospital for 5 days on intravenous antibiotics. And yeah, so yeah, that was an experience. Yeah,
that's amazing. Yeah. Well, now it seems to be a more stable moment.
Yeah, now I and also I've been teaching my exercise classes for quite some, like 4 years now, and so my structure is very strong, like my hips, and I've also been teaching pregnancy classes for the last 7 years. So it's really nice to be able to really look at it and really apply everything, and just to reflect on things. And that's one of the things is that I've told you that I'm doing, is recording lots of videos about all of the things that we normally share in a pregnancy class, all of the things that come up. And yeah, so that's fun, fitting in between everything else. Yeah,
I think it would be nice to know, to hear about how you started studying pregnancy. I remember your degree was focused on midwifery and herbs, right?
My degree was purely herbal medicine, was a 4-year Bachelor of Science in Herbal Medicine in Middlesex University in the UK, in London. And because my mother is a home birth midwife, and I saw her go out and deliver babies throughout my whole childhood, and very, very rarely anything went wrong. So it was like something that was just in me, this thing of like, well, birth is natural, you know. And then when I got to the end of beginning of my 3rd year is when I got pregnant with Lexi. So yeah, then it just seemed like I was already really interested in gynecology, and my clinical supervisor was specialized in gynecology. And then so I just became very interested in what herbs could help with pregnancy and childbirth, and I ended up writing at the end of the course thesis on using herbs that have an oxytocic action in childbirth, and like hypothesizing lots of reasons why they might work, and looking at all of the chemistry and everything. And so yeah, that was sort of the beginning of the linking the herbs and the midwifery background. And yeah, and then of course I've had my own experiences, and also I quite soon after the training I came back to Spain to live here, about 2 years later, and then I made these kits for Vanessa, who you studied with, and my mum. So I had made these kits, and so then since then they've been using the herbs, and I've been able to talk to them about what, you know, and I've been refilling their bottles. So I've been seeing what they use more of, and yeah, and then in the last 4 years now, I've been teaching at the midwifery school. So every year I've been able to build on my notes, which have finally this year got to a state where I'm happy with them. You know, as you build things. I must send you a copy of the new updated version. And yeah, it's just been really nice, like each year to build on that. The feedback that I got this year, there was a fantastic group this year, and the feedback that I got was that it was great, and that they'd want to know more about the plants that are right around them, which is always the case. You know, people want to know about what they can use for themselves, which is how we learn. So obviously, yeah, it's just that some of the herbs, as you know, that we looked at are not always readily available in like right around us. So yeah, that's another thing that would be nice to do at Dialuth, is to create a garden with some of the herbs that don't grow so readily around us. Yeah.
Beautiful idea, totally. Yeah, the thing about midwifery and herbs and industrial drugs, this is all very unknown, I think, even for people who go to the hospital. They don't know what's happening, what drugs are actually taking. I don't know. Claire, would you like to ask something about this, about those subjects, or even the question about difference between industrial drugs and where is she?
Well, yeah, I'm curious. It's really interesting to hear your background, and I can totally, that's so wonderful for those women that you're working with, that you've been able to have this long trajectory of building up your notes, seeing what actually works with the people you're working with, and all of that. It's really cool. So, but in terms of what Josephina just said, yeah, have you worked when you were, you know, earlier? Have you seen, like, worked with women who have done traditional drugs and childbirth and all of that, and been able to, you know, compare, or what's been your experience or background with that?
Well, just interestingly, the last few weeks, I've had a lady in my class this is slightly related to your question. She had epidural with her first delivery, and then she's just been having that. She's been in the last month of her pregnancy, and she said that the epidural that she had, the woman came in and said, I'm going away for a couple of hours, so if you are going to have an epidural, you have to have it now. This is in her first delivery. And so, of course, she had it, because she didn't know if she was going to carry on being able to deal with the contractions, which she had been doing quite fine. But she was sort of put in that spot of like, oh, like,
Right.
So, and then this week, this Tuesday, she gave birth to her son. And she sent me a text message. She was like, I didn't have an epidural. Because I was not in classes, I was not in any way like, you must, you shouldn't have it, or we talk about epidurals a lot and how they've improved, and like it's your choice, and but I also remind them, and especially with the partner as well being there, just reminding them that, like, if a woman's in labor and she wait for her to ask for pain relief, basically. You shouldn't offer her pain relief. You should wait until she asks, because a lot of the time a woman will be like, in her process, and the contraction peaks and she thinks, I can't handle this, and then of course it comes down again, and then it's like, okay, actually I'm all right, and then right. So saying to her, do you want to have help with the pain? Well, yeah, she might well go, oh yeah, okay. So yeah, I mean, that's slightly related to the question. I've worked with quite a lot of women, that have been on hormone replacement, that want to get off hormone replacement, that have been on the pill. Like many women have problems after being on the pill for some years. It's like often I see people that have been on the pill for 5 to 10 years, and they often need quite a lot of help with improving liver function and getting back their menstruation. And I mean, even if their menstruation is all right and regular again, often they have other problems that are related to the congestion that's being created in the liver. So that, and I mean, generally I've worked with quite a lot of people on thyroid medication as well, which is quite a female topic. Lots more females have thyroid problems. Mm-hmm. And everybody is so different. That's why in a holistic consultation, I mean, people are often surprised about what the process is of a consultation. They're like, wow, like, oh, you're asking me so many questions, is it okay, is it all right that I'm saying all of this stuff to you? And I'm like, and I have my places where I have to write everything down, but the conversation is a flow. It's not like this and then this and then this. We have a conversation, and it normally lasts for an hour and a half to 2 hours, and we look at everything because it's all interconnected, absolutely. And one of the things that I've been able to add in the last 4 years is the emotional work, because I've been studying the journey method, and I've recently become an accredited practitioner in that. So so sometimes it just seems it's right for the emotional release to happen in that first visit, and sometimes we book a actual session to do that. But because everything is so connected, people are often like, wow, we've talked about so many things, and how can you possibly work this out? And that's where herbal medicine is very different from allopathic medicine, because in allopathic medicine things are not connected. I mean, even when you go, I've taken quite a lot of people to see a specialist, for example, in the hospital, and you go and see the specialist and you sort of question other things that might be related, and just to see what their idea is or what their opinion is on something. And most of the time, not all of the time that I've spoken to specialists, they're like, oh, well, sorry, I'm a gastroenterologist, you have to talk to the neurologist about that. and you're like,
right. Yeah, everything's like,
there is an understanding that, like, I can understand why, because that's where they've really specialized in their area, and because testing is such a big thing these days, testing, you know, they don't really have much of an answer unless they've done a test. Like, a lot of the time, I mean, recently I've even heard of people talking about, you know, they take their child to the doctor, and I say, well, did they check this?
mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh no, they didn't even touch her, they were just using an app on a phone to work out what's wrong with the child, for example. And so yeah, there's obviously there's lots of good doctors out there, but
right, but it's a different kind of approach to take the whole picture into account.
yeah, because when you then are choosing what herbs people need, there's so many herbs, you know, there's like, I mean, I probably stock 120 different herbs, and out of each category, you know, there's maybe the nerve tonics and the liver herbs and the circulatory herbs, but out of those then have many different actions. Right. And so then you'll, depending on what the person said and all of the different symptoms and their temperature and whether they sweat or they don't sweat and where, you know, how the circulation works, then you'll choose different ones. So everybody goes away with a different treatment plan. And then on top of that, what I've realized with time is adding the emotional stuff and adding the food stuff is always really useful. So normally when I have my first meeting with somebody, after that I tend to send people an email, which can take quite a long time to put together, because I really feel like if somebody's not going to come back for any reason, because, you know, they're moving country or they're really passing through, or something happens in their life and then they, you know, just stuff happens in people's lives, we all know that. You know, so if they, for any of those reasons, are not going to be able to come and see me again, I want them to have at least the information that the beginning, you know, like these are the foods that would be good, or this is the plan, you could try this cleanse out, you can do, you know, like these are the supplements that I think that would suit you at the moment. And yeah, so they can always refer back to that as well, and like lifestyle stuff, you know, practices, walking, meditations, like we put everything in there. That I also teach the low pressure fitness, the breathing thing that you, Josephina, you would have learned, and that is incredibly helpful as well. So like everything comes together, and so each person gets what they need in that moment. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
it's very nice.
Something that I'm thinking about is like I'm learning about sickness, disease, medicines, how things are treated, and how the industrial medicines actually work in the symptom instead of the actual cause. And I think what you're saying in a way is that you are reorganizing the system in a way that it can keep healthy instead of just treating that.
Absolutely. And teaching people about herbs that they can take that work with their constitution, that they might be able to take for a longer period of time, or they might be able to take again if they're feeling that they're getting into like an anxiety state, or so like showing people that they can, you know, they can use the plants around them. And there's a lot of like in the herb world, one of the things that we believe is that our connection with plants and the amount of plants that we put into our bodies has reduced massively over the years, and hence the whole plant-based diet boom now. So everyone's like, wow, plant brilliant. You're getting all of those phytonutrients into your body, you're getting so many more herbs in there. And yeah, just helping people to get back the system to get into a balance where it can heal itself, and that can take different lengths of time. You know, like I just had a child in my clinic today who I saw 3 weeks ago, and I mean, children are a great example of how quickly things can happen because they haven't got all of the encumbrances and their nervous system is not being put under a lot of pressure and stress, and so they respond very quickly. He came with headaches every night. He was having headaches every night. His gallbladder and liver were congested, and he was getting hot, and he had an emotional like a difficult time with his parents separating, and he was getting all this like tension and heat, and like we use primarily herbs to cool him down. So we work a lot with the temperatures of the herbs, and so that the effects of just helping the nervous system to calm down, helping liver function to increase. He was also having very slow bowel movements, so he was going to the toilet twice a week, and I was like, well, this is, you know, this is really key that we get this going and just stimulating the digestive tract. And so yeah, a lot of the time we'll work with digestion and nervous system as the primary like core with many people, especially like with women in I've taught a menopause talk in some retreats, and my menopause like presentation is based on those two things plus then going into the hormones, because there are a lot of herbs that work on the hormones, but we want to make sure that the nervous system and the digestive tract and function of the liver are working, because otherwise if you just put the hormonal herbs in there, it's unlikely that they're going to be so effective. And people see this, you know, go, I've been taking black cohosh, but it doesn't work. And it's like, yeah, that's where like the therapeutics, and I'm really quite passionate about teaching therapeutics and like combinations of herbs and like treatment plan and how to move from one stage to the next and get somebody to a state where they're really healthy.
Right.
So yeah. And then of course there's all the nutritional things and all of the health maintenance stuff, and postmenopausally like the bone density maintenance and like hair and teeth and alkalinity, and like there's many different aspects, you know. So yeah.
It's like you're creating the base. You're helping people get to a state where they can receive what the herbs have to offer.
Yeah definitely.
Yeah. I was gonna ask something personal now. Maybe I'll have to get a consultation.
I know, I want to too.
But I think it can be something that sparks into your mind. If it gets too confusing, let's not go there. But just that Cora is having a lot of itching over her bum and her vagina.
Okay.
Like there is no other symptom. Like she had 2 molar teeth coming out last week or 10 days ago.
Right.
And that was hard, but now they're off. But she's still scratching. Like she wakes up at night like, and she during the day.
Does it happen more? Like, what happens if you leave her without a nappy on in the daytime?
Yeah, I do this every day. I try to leave her without a nappy all the time. I'm pretty sure it's the nappy that is bad for her. I put a paper diaper the other day at night because I think it gets less wet, you know, and she complained less, but still she was itching and itching and itching. And I don't know, like I asked Debs, could be worms, you know, like something like internal. I checked her poop, I never saw it, but I don't know if something comes up like that. It's nothing to do.
And has anything changed in the food that she's eating?
She's eating
and did
more.
it just happen after the teeth or around the teeth?
Yeah, it was around the time of the teeth that it started, but the teeth stopped now. She's eating more, but not very different, and she's still drinking a lot of milk from me. So,
Have you introduced anything new food-wise?
I would have to think about that. But I don't think nothing's like special. Just like she eats a lot of raw vegetables. She eats soba. She eats rice. She eats. Maybe I should check if she's eating more wheat because we gave bread recently. So
Yeah. Yeah. So there's things like bread, tomatoes, oranges that can irritate like nappy rash and itching in that area. So that would be something like food wise that I'd look at. And then you can use calendula. Do you have any calendula?
Oh yeah, we do. We have the cream for her. We put every day.
Yeah. Do you have any calendula petals or flowers?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'd do is I'd do a little bath. Give her a bath with calendula petals, like make a strong infusion of calendula and then pour it into a shallow bath. So like maybe one in 5, 1 part of the really strong infusion into 5 parts of the water, and just get her to sit in it. And you can do that in the evening when she goes to bed. And then plantain is another one that you could use as well, which would help. Because what's most likely that's happened is that she's had the teeth have caused the irritation. It's very common. Possibly of course the bread as well, and then her histamine levels in that area have increased, and there's itching, and then it's just a cycle now of itching. So it's just, and that's why you're not seeing it drop down, because she's like itching and getting irritated. So do you use any wipes on her?
No, we
clean
her water and we do chamomile tea to mix with the water.
Yeah.
So it gets a little.
How long have you used the chamomile with? For a long time?
Not long, just a few days.
Okay. Well, just be careful with it. Just check that the chamomile is not making it worse, because chamomile is in the Asteraceae family, and the Asteraceae family herbs can produce an irritation sometimes. This is quite unusual, but there is a possibility. That's one of the reasons why arnica is used internally, because it's in the same family, and it is one of the ones that does cause irritation, which is why we don't drink it.
Did you say arnica?
So, yeah, arnica. Yeah, that's why arnica is like an external application thing in general.
So you shouldn't give to her. That's what you're saying internally. The arnica.
Arnica in a pill, in a sugar pill, is homeopathic arnica. So this has been diluted to the point where it's not going to produce any of that irritation. But arnica we also use as a flower and infuse it in oil, and then make like what your calendula ointment is like. So, and that's used for bruises mainly, and for breaks, bruises, inflammation. And internally it's contraindicated. It's not used internally in general.
Listen, we have less than a minute here. Is that okay?
Okay.
Is it okay if I send to you a new link and we
Sure,
just do a few more questions?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll stop this and I'll send to you in your Signal account.
Sure. Great.
See you soon.
Okay. So we would love to hear about, given the situation in the entire world right now with COVID, we're interested to hear from you about how plants and herbs can help us to build our immune systems to be able to, adapt and, be strong when we come in contact with this sort of thing.
Sure. So the first thing that I would say is that really food is the first place. Yeah, so making sure that you're getting a good balance in your diet, making sure that your pH is not too acidic, so that the pH in your mouth and your digestive tract, we're not talking about blood pH, because blood pH is regular. Your body balances everything to keep blood pH in homeostasis. So, but yeah, all of the other pH and all the other fluids in your body determines what bacteria grow there. So the food that you then put in also helps different bacteria to grow. So it's like a two-way thing. Yeah. So if you feed your body good foods, then you'll get better bacteria growing, and also you promote an environment that's got the right pH for those bacteria to grow. So that's like a really, really important part. And then herb-wise, I tend to, with this subject, I tend to be steering more towards the anti-inflammatory, antioxidant side of things rather than the immune boosting side. Obviously, there are some herbs that are anti-inflammatory, immune boosting, and antioxidant, like including garlic in your daily life. Just rubbing some garlic onto some cracker or toast, and like with some avocado, for example, could be a good thing to start doing if you're not doing that already. And then things like berries. So we use berries in herbal medicine. We use bilberries and hawthorn berries, for example, and so including, and all of the red, like forest fruit berries are also very high in antioxidants and can help to reduce inflammation in your blood vessels. With the herbs, we also, I often prescribe a bilberry tincture. So you can take like 5 to 10 milliliters of a bilberry tincture every day, or even twice a day, to reduce inflammation in your blood vessels. Because what's being seen with the coronavirus is that there's an increase in coagulation in the blood, and that's causing a lot of the more severe symptoms. So it's blood coagulation and inflammation, and so people with already inflammatory processes happening in their body are the people that are having the worst symptoms. So those things. So other herbs that help to reduce inflammation in the body, like yarrow, for example, and olive leaf. Olive leaf's a good one because it also helps to balance your gut flora without creating an excess of reaction. Because a lot of time when we start to kill off bacteria in the gut with stronger herbal medicines, then we get what's called a Herxheimer reaction, and then you can have more symptoms, you can have headaches, and you can feel pretty rubbish from it. But olive leaf doesn't seem to do that. So yeah, again, it's like I said before, we did on what's going on for you, your symptoms, and what, whether if you've got rheumatoid arthritis, if you've got heart disease, if you've got inflammation in your blood vessels, then definitely useful to definitely increase those berries, get lots of greens into your body, make sure you're getting enough magnesium. And then the other big thing that has been shown, well, there's a few, is vitamin D. So getting your vitamin D levels up, which vitamin D is provided by in the healthy fats, as well as getting it from the sun. Most people know that we get vitamin D by the conversion from getting sunlight. The thing about that is that a lot of the time, it's actually not recommended to go in the sun so much because of skin cancer, because of what's going on in the atmosphere. The atmosphere has changed so much, and so now we can't be sure that it's safe to go in the sun so much. So people are going in the sun less, and then they're having less amount of vitamin D in their blood. So vitamin D is one of the things that I have suggested to my clients to get a test, to get their blood tested to see how much vitamin D they've got. And then from there, get supplement depending on the level of vitamin D that they have. But if people are not going to supplement, if people are just not going to get their test because they haven't got access to it, or they can't afford it, or whatever, then taking something like 2,000 international units a day is generally recommended, to be the baseline. I mean, I think the Vitamin D Council suggests 5,000 international units, and I've got a colleague who does a lot of blood testing, and he says that his clients that have low vitamin D levels need consistent 7,000 international units for some time to bring their vitamin D levels up. And vitamin D is something that has been shown to be correlated to the severity of the coronavirus infections. So that's definitely worth it. That's what I say to people, you know, if you're over 55, then it might be useful to get your vitamin D levels checked and to make sure that you've got enough. Because in some cases you will just already have that upper level because of the way that you eat or the way that your lifestyle. So it is useful to get a test. And then zinc is something that has actually been used like in some treatment protocols for coronavirus. So zinc would be another thing that's useful to take on a regular basis. The dosage of zinc is 15 milligrams a day for an adult, and you can give less to a child. So yeah, herb wise, things like, I mean, then it gets into what's good for you.
Right.
So
right.
past those things is like, and nettle is one of the things that can be very useful for lots of people. It has a high, relatively high protein content. It's got lots and lots of different minerals, vitamins and minerals in that can really help to restore your skin, hair, nails, and just make you feel good. Like energetically, nettle lifts you up and gives you like a sort of life force. So yeah, nettle is something that is quite a wide umbrella. Oat straw, so milky oats, or an oat straw in a strong infusion is another one that can be pretty much used by lots of people. I mentioned yarrow before. Yarrow is not always suitable for everybody. Yarrow can again, it's back in that family of herbs, the same as the chamomile. So in some people, people can just not feel completely great with it. But yarrow is a great herb to get to know, to use, and it's not going to hurt you. It's not going to like create, like, it's not going to do anything that like is a reaction that a drug would give you. So you can try it out and, you know, see how you feel on it. So, but yeah, yarrow is a really, really good anti-inflammatory, helps circulatory, helps to tone all of the blood vessels. Yeah, so that's what I'd say. Definitely work on your oxidation levels, getting your diet as healthy as possible. I mean, even looking at like looking up what healthy foods for the cardiovascular system, for example, and going and just seeing what you don't do already.
I just want to clarify one thing. So I understand about the antioxidants, and that all of what you're saying makes sense to me. Why? I mean, is it again that you're focusing there because you're creating an environment in the body that's naturally going to boost your immune system or make a strong immune system, so you don't need to focus specifically on the immune system as long as you're creating this environment that's healthy?
Yeah. I mean, that's my general stance on it. If there's nothing if you said to me, I get every single cold that comes along,
right,
then it would be a different situation. Then I would be telling you all about those things, but I'd also be giving you some echinacea or some astragalus. So, I mean, astragalus is one of the herbs that you can take as well that's very nourishing and building. And I don't tend to suggest to take echinacea all the time, but in some people it is what will work for them. Another one is Andrographis paniculata, which is it's just stronger. It's a stronger bitter herb. So if you had, like, for example, your digestive function wasn't working strong enough, although the digestive system is another whole area which you can make things worse by giving a strong bitter herb first off. because if you've got irritation in your digestive system, if you've got inflammation in there already, you want to reduce that down before stimulating it. So it's I prefer to teach about like improving your pH, improving the quality of the food, getting lots of good nutrients in there, putting these anti-inflammatory herbs. So the other one that we haven't spoken about is turmeric. Now turmeric is very useful anti-inflammatory, and it's also an anticoagulant, and it is also good for improving your liver function. So turmeric is something that you could include in your diet as well, and include daily as a herb. There's lots of different ways of taking turmeric. So
great.
Did I finish?
Yeah, no, it's so great. It's so great to hear you speak, because I mean, I've studied some of this through my life, but not in depth. But the approach just makes so much more sense to me than how Western medicine approaches things. It's so compartmentalized, and they don't see the connection between things. And
it's very shocking that there's obviously, you will have seen in the last few months, like people pushing, information about how to keep your immune system healthy, whereas from the medical realm, there's no recommendation.
I know there's nothing.
And there's even shutting down, there's even let's take that off YouTube, and let's take that, they're talking about, and it is shocking. So I think, and at the same time, people are hungry for information.
Of course, my God, people are dying,
Myself healthy, which is great. It's fantastic.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Yeah, Western medicine does not focus on helping people be healthy. It focuses on fixing things when they're broken,
Yeah. So the other thing that I like to teach people about is using fermented foods to improve their microbiome, and therefore improve their whole immune system. Yeah. So that's another thing that it can be really, really, really useful. It's really easy. It's just putting a small amount of a lacto fermented vegetable, or sauerkraut, or kimchi, kombucha and water kefir. They're slightly in a different realm because of the sugar content, and but those the lacto fermented vegetables and the sauerkraut should really be a part of the diet to improve your immune system. There's so many different flavors you can learn about what you like, and yes, that's an important thing to keep in mind is getting those sorts of foods in there. And then of course there's other foods that are useful for improving your liver function, like watercress and beetroots, celery, broccoli, and just keep on remembering these are the foods that are good for me, and this is why. It's like knowing the why is often the inspiration for change in people. So I mean, I do talk a lot about food, because I think it's what's helped me to heal and get better as well, as well as the herbs. It's like the food and the herbs, they just go together. And the food is something that you're doing every day, anyway.
I'm thinking that I will have to make my next job will be make a table with the herbs that you use in the northern hemisphere and the herbs from the southern hemisphere, because there are many that I never found the translation even, I don't even know.
Absolutely.
So
I mean because I'm very passionate about spreading information in Spanish. I'm in quite a lot of Facebook groups that talk about phytotherapy, but then most of them are in South America. So then they're talking about all herbs that are okay, I don't, So it's very different. Yeah. So it would be really interesting to look at, to compare, and to see also, I mean, it would be really interesting to go even down to the constituent level, to what compounds are in the plants, and and what they're used for and see the correlations there. I'm sure somebody must have done this sort of work.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I would have to go to check because I'm studying with Aviva Rom slightly. I didn't go
Nice.
here, but still is the northern hemisphere thing. So
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I'm still in my mind like I don't know, and I have to study this more. But I think I will try to do this at least with the few herbs you said today to put in whatever we write about this, because we're here in Brazil.
Right.
So if I only say black cohosh, there is no translation for this. No one knows what this is.
Wow.
They don't have it in South America, no? Because it's a North American herb.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Northern Hemisphere.
Yeah.
I mean, it's mostly grown in North America, yeah. Yeah.
Wow, interesting.
That would be, I think that's a good way
But
of.
there's many plants with phytoestrogen. I mean, most plants have phytoestrogens in them anyway.
Yeah, that's
so
so
that's why it's interesting to go down into the compounds level and see, you know, to correlate. I mean, Aviva Rom probably has a lot of insight into that. Bless her.
Bless you. And would you like to share a little about your online? It's an online course, as far as I understood, right?
Well, yeah, it's the plan was to make an online course. When I got pregnant, I was like, wow, I can make an online course and put everything in it. Yay! And then I started uploading some things, and then in the meantime I've changed platform, and now I'm looking at a different platform, and I'm also looking at the possibility of making things. There's so many ideas and things written down, you know, structure of how things will be eventually. But so at the moment I'm looking at making more like modules that are more accessible to people, basically. So possibly going with a pay what you can sort of model, or making each module like, you know, just affordable, like $37 or something like that, rather than having a big course that costs like loads more. Yeah, so at the moment what I'm doing is I'm just creating videos, I'm making I've made 5 exercise videos for the beginning of pregnancy, and then I've got 5 videos that are explaining things for the end of pregnancy, more explanatory, like optimal fetal positioning and how to get your baby into the right position, how to do what breathing, what things the partner can do. So I've got like a sweet video of me and my husband doing things together, and that was mainly because I had like 3 or 4 women who were giving birth earlier than me. So I might be re-recording some of those things, and then I'm putting in, you know, like what supplements I'm taking, why, what foods are useful for the beginning of pregnancy, end of pregnancy. I'll very much like to do one for the 4th trimester, and then, you know, introducing foods to children, just everything that I always want to talk about in the class, and I don't always get each person doesn't receive all of that information, because somebody's there one month and then they've had their baby the next month, and then we start talking about, you know, and the questions that come up are different. So yeah, I was very excited about being able to put it all on the screen so people can actually see it. And then so from now I'm still doing some short exercise videos for second half of pregnancy, and then I've also got like 10 yoga type 45-minute videos, including all the breathing, the jaw relaxation, the breathing techniques, using the vowel sounds, how to get through each contraction, all of that. So that will be included in those yoga videos. So there'll be 10 of those that you can use throughout your whole pregnancy, but it's more geared towards the last half, which is when people start to think about it anyway. So yeah, and then of course, like the low pressure fitness, the hyperpressives will be part of the postpartum recovery plan. So yeah, I'm considering whether to make each of those things modules that people can just pick up, you know, like exercise, yoga, postpartum, getting your toning your figure back into shape, getting your pelvic floor back into shape, food, you know, like making them a little bit easier for people to just have one of, instead of having to like go for the whole thing. But yeah, that's my idea. And then separate to that, there's all of the herb stuff, which I'm really passionate about getting out there. I mean, I'm very passionate about getting it out there in Spanish, because there's much less information in Spanish generally about herbs, and particularly about therapeutics, like what we were talking about before about combining the herbs for a specific outcome, you know, because we know, you know, people know a herb and they think it's just for that, you know. We think people talk about St. John's wort and they're like, depression. They're like, well, actually, if you combine St. John's wort with these other herbs, then it can play a part in many other things. And yeah, it's and also when you look at treating because it, like we've said, the way that modern medicine looks at things is very simplistic. So people are used to this simplistic way, and so yeah. And then as I've explained, well, as it's happening, well, you need to do, let's look at this, and let's look at how to move the lymph system. If say there's something with the skin, we're going to look at the lymph, we're going to look at the circulation, we're going to look at the liver, and we're going to look at the bowel function. So we're going to look at all of those different things. We're not just going to give a lymph herb, and we're not just going to give a bowel herb. We're going to put them all together so that they have a therapeutic effect. So I'm quite passionate about teaching that and just getting that out there a bit more. It's a complicated subject though, so I sort of, when in my mind I'm like, oh yes, it all makes sense, it's simple, but then trying to put it into like something that's digestible for other people is like, okay.
Yeah, it's a long way. It's a lot of things to learn, I'm sure, and I'm excited. I'm doing all your courses for sure. When they're ready, send to me. We'll put in our page. And
I mean, that's what I was thinking, because there's so much to do, and this new platform that I found, it's called Member Vault. I don't know if you know it. It's great, and on there you can make your little course picture, and then you can have a waiting list, so people that are interested in that particular thing can click, I want to be on the waiting list, and then I can start to see which thing to make first.
Right.
So
right.
yeah,
That's cool.
yeah, but yeah, it's just the graphic design and the tech that is slightly holding me back at the moment. Yeah, and then of course I'm going to be having a baby in 3 months, so
You'll be a little busy for a while.
I will be busy, but it's also giving me the opportunity to change, you know, like, and to just do, like, I've always done what's coming up, rather than getting like overwhelmed about all of the things, because there's so many things. Yeah, so I hope to be working a little bit more online, seeing clients, and the journey work is really great and interesting, and if somebody wants journey work, then I'll be prioritizing that. So yeah, and then I'll have a baby. So I feel like sometimes when you have a baby, you can have a bit more time. In a funny way.
I've forgotten what it's like.
Yeah, it means that, like, on this whole video thing, and like being out there and, you know, creating stuff, like, as opposed to having to go to a clinic and see loads of people all day long, I can do things. I do know what it's like at the beginning.
I'm sure you do.
I'm like, I'm definitely not going to be teaching anything until January. But yeah, possibly much longer. But I've also got a teenage daughter, so
yeah, that helps. My kids were 10 years apart, and it was
yeah, cool.
That's really nice. I think we did a good thing. I think we did a good talk. I don't know. Do you want to add anything? That was wonderful. Do you, Sophie?
I think we covered everything. Yeah.
Well, I seriously would love to have a consultation with you. So I don't know if you do that long distance, but
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
okay. Well, maybe Josephina can give me your contact.
Yeah, he can give you my contact and then we can arrange something. Great.
That sounds great.
I just got my internet connection much improved.
Oh, good. Yeah, this has worked really well.
Yeah.
Laura.
The baby came to say hi. Okay, thank you guys. That was great. Thanks, Sophie, again. I'm so glad you exist in our life. And I wish you a very beautiful end of pregnancy and birth and beginning of new baby.
Yeah.
So exciting. You don't know if it's a boy or a girl, right?
No, I don't know. No. Yeah. Surprise. Yeah.
And your other two children, you have son and daughter?
My eldest is a daughter and the other one's a boy. Yeah. So I've got one of each. My husband has got twin girls.
Oh, wow.
So yeah. Well, we'll see what it is. It might be another girl. But yeah, I feel like it's a boy, but it's probably just because of the balance.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we also felt like my little sister was going to be a boy because we were already lots of girls. So she's like, "You thought I was going to be a boy too."
Yeah.
Cora, you want to say bye-bye? Fala bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye, Tao.
Bye, Tao.
Oh.
Bye.
Cora, what did we pick while Mama and Awao and Sophie were talking? What did we pick from the tree? Cafe.
She loves cafe. She gets from the tree and eats
The beans.
The beans.
The berries.
Yeah.
Nice to see you, Sophie.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Congratulations on everything.
Thank you.
We'll sit in the same place again one day at the same time.
Yeah, are you planning on coming back?
We are planning on
because
coming
you
back,
were.
but what do plans mean anyway now?
Yeah, absolutely. It looks nice there.
We have our little caravan and our little piece of land with